It teaches you how to interact with everybody. It teaches you that you're not always going to like the people that you work with, but you can still learn from them and you can still have positive interactions with them. And it also teaches you how to prioritize.
In academics, I think it has opened creativity to a level that a lot of students don't get. When I read a book, or if we're reading something in English, I can look at it more from the perspective of the main character because I have that background of interpreting words and making meaning out of that. I think dialogue in general in books has a lot more meaning to me because dialogue is what we base plays and musicals around.
This is McDonald's.
Yeah, gangster. Make it big. Make it big. I know you're thinking, oh no.
Well, first when I walked into the theater room, I was just sort of like puzzled at what it was. Like, what was theater all about? And then eventually over time, over my course of the semester and stuff like that, I realized what it was. It was just art.
Ma'am, I'm replacing your first burger for free. Because it said it didn't taste right to you. And the second burger, because you thought it wasn't cooked enough. And now you're telling me this one's burnt.
Oh, no, no, no. Keep going. Come on, have fun.
You have got to be kidding me. Where do you think you are? This is McDonald's. We don't serve no sirloin steak.
Now do that again and let me see it in your eyes. Let me get some eye rolls, a little like, oh my, this is McDonald's. Okay? Really accentuate your words like you think you know what you're talking about.
This is McDonald's.
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 Do it again.
It's McDonald's. 25 an hour, and I gotta put up with the likes of you. I'll tell you what.
I'll tell you what. Like you got a secret. Like you know what you're talking about.
I'll tell you what.
Yes, good.
Why don't you come back here, put on this ugly hat,
Give it to her.
and
Give it to
this
her.
ugly apron,
Give it to her.
and you go back and work with that grease.
I decided to take theater arts because my mom taught theater when she taught high school students, and I don't know, I'm more of a shy person, and I just thought that theater would kind of help me get out of my shell a little more.
She just said she'd be a minute, so...
Into the ball. Rock like a little baby.
I'd always been interested in theater and acting, but I never thought that I could do it. So come middle school, I had a bunch of friends who were in theater, and they were saying, oh, you should go audition, and there's this play and that play going on, and I was always unaware of everything that was going on, because I never paid attention. So I got dragged into an audition in middle school. I didn't get the part, but it was still interesting, because I got invited back, like, for the next day. I think it was like 2 days of auditioning, but it was still an interesting process, and then I just realized I really liked acting. So then high school came around, and I found out there was a theater arts course and all that, and I decided to take it.
Went to Washington, D.C., who said, what do you do? I said, well, I teach high school acting classes all day, and they're like, what? Where are you located? How are you doing that? You know, and so we're very, very fortunate that and I appreciate that you guys take the classes, that you tell people about them, and you know, as I always say, we're putting butts in the seats, and they're not going to shut it down as long as people are doing it. And I think part of that is, you know, is that theater really is transformational, as you've experienced, and it has the possibility to really affect people's lives for a really positive thing. And I can say, without being cocky, but with being confident, that I feel like we're doing some really great things in terms of really trying to help people, help young people express themselves, and I'm just thankful that people are taking interest in it.
My journey is not that atypical from a lot of people, but I did a lot of performing when I was younger. My mom and dad saw that early on, and they generally pointed me in that direction. They got me involved in choir and singing and some school plays here and there. And I kind of put it on the side shelf for my formative years, from about 6th grade until about 11th grade. I spent those 5 years not really doing any acting or pursuing it, but I did a lot of music, and I was in some bands and played music and learned guitar, which to me is a form of performance still. So I was still kind of performing, just in a different vein. It wasn't until my junior year in high school when the person that I was driving to school with, who was my ride, he was a senior, I was singing Harry Connick Jr. in the car, and he said, "Man, you can sing, you know, you should try out for the musical. We need guys," which is funny because we still need guys in a lot of high school theater even to this day. So literally I end up trying out the next day because Jeff Fowler, the guy who drove me to work kind of at a whim, said, "You should try out." I never thought about it, and he said, "You should come in and try out," and I did, and I got the lead part my first year as a junior. And honestly, from that point on, I was hooked.
My sister was a senior last year, and she encouraged me to join tech for the fall show last year. And I did just tech for the fall show, and then I was recommended to become stage manager for a musical last year. So that's how I got involved with stage managing and tech.
My mom had always said that I had way too much energy to keep in the house, and that I would always like put on little shows for my family, and I would always sing along to songs, and she always just thought that I would do very well. And I had pushed her away for a while and told her that I wouldn't like that kind of stuff. And then one day I heard about this summer camp that my principal was doing for my school, and it was like a week, and you just put on a show on Friday for all the parents and stuff. And I was like in 3rd grade, and I really liked it, and I found out that I kind of had a knack for it, and so I've just been doing it ever since.
My dad was a technical director for years, and he, you know, it was kind of like my playground, and I would go there, hang out, and we'd see shows all the time. And I always told myself, you know, by this age, you're going to get on stage, you're going to audition for the yearly annual Christmas Carol. And then his job got switched around. We moved up here. So then I got involved in York Little Theater. And that was in 2004. So I've been doing theater ever since.
Better or worse, it's ready. Close your eyes and come on out.
Isn't this a bit childish?
If you really, watch that step, if you really love me, you're going to have to indulge me.
My experience getting into theater was I saw a show when I was very young, fell in love with it, had the opportunity to actually participate on stage. And throughout my high school career, I did theater, both the technical side and the on-stage side. And for that matter, I'm a musician. My profession is a musician. And so I was involved in the musical aspects of being a musician in theater as well. So I kind of have been all around the art form and all around the business. When I went to college, I decided to major in music education, came out as a music teacher. Theater became my avocation, a very big hobby. I was very involved with it throughout the community theater realms. I've done professional theater. And then here at Central, I had the opportunity to become the director of the program here at Central, of the shows that we do outside of the classroom. So we worked very hard with that, and then about 10 or 15 years ago, we were able to develop a curriculum here at Central and have an actual teacher who teaches theater classes, which is Mr. Hodge. He's our 3rd theater teacher. But I was able to be involved with developing that process of actually getting classes here at Central. So my advice to anybody who wants to go into it, I got this from a Broadway actor at a workshop about 2-3 years ago. And the question was posed to him was, my son, or I've heard that, you know, one of my students, wants to go into theater, but parents aren't real happy about that. They want him to have a backup plan. What do you say to that? And his response was, then you shouldn't be going into theater. You should be going into the backup plan. You only go into theater if that's the only thing you can do, if that's what your passion is, if that's where your life is, if that's what you want to do.
I have wanted to be involved with theater for a long time, and I've been involved with theater for a long time. I actually got my start at Dream Rights Youth and Family Theater when I was 7 years old. I auditioned for a play. I did not get a part, but I remember walking out of the theater and telling my mom that I really wanted to try it again. Like, I really wanted to audition again. And from there, it's just been shows and shows and shows and being involved in as many parts of the show as I possibly can. I've been involved in theater since I was 7 years old.
At first, just in life in general and mainly in theater too, I wasn't very confident at all getting in front of people. I was really nervous, like my hands would start shaking, and my voice would start quivering, and I would just get really nervous, and I was really self-conscious. I just didn't like myself as much. And then through theater, I found out, I just learned more, got really more and more comfortable being in front of people. The nerves kind of went away. Like, every time you go on stage, and my dad's a presenter, and he says this too, every single time, no matter like how many times you do it, you're going to be nervous, but you kind of change how you react to it or how you use it. Like, I was playing a really emotional character in a play called Reach, and from that, my hands would shake, because that was like the first time my parents had ever been there to see me act, and they didn't even know if I could. So my hands were shaking, my voice would quiver slightly, but it was an incredibly emotional character. The character's name was Melinda, and she was a rape victim, and she was talking about what happened, and I just used that and applied it to the character and what the character would be feeling, and how their voice might be quivering from emotion, and you just take things and you work with it.
Academically, it's helped me prioritize a lot because tech is typically 6 to 9 at night, and rehearsals can be 3 to 5, and Saturday mornings they're 9 to 12, and I have a tech session Sunday from 1 to 5. So it definitely takes a large block of my time, so I have to definitely schedule out every class, homework, and every rehearsal and tech session. Out of school, it's helped me just be able to approach people and direct people without being worried to step on someone's toes. Like, I'm able to be authoritative more easily.
Come on. Are we done with this yet? I can't believe there's more. And, you can tell Daryl too.
I think it's going to help me with time management. Eventually I want to become a doctor and all that good stuff. But it'll help me with time management and dealing with all kinds of people, because out in the real world you're not just with the high school friends you've had for so many years. You're with all of these people you don't even know. You could have met them like 2 minutes ago, and you have to learn what their kind of characteristics are really quickly. So I think it'll help me with time management and dealing with people.
I feel that it really has helped me just kind of being more of an introvert. I guess you could say it really has helped me become more outgoing.
It really helped, like, with my English skills. I don't know. I never really became into, like, reading. I didn't read a lot of books, but it definitely helped with social skills. It made things, brought me out of myself so I could be more comfortable in front of people. Honestly, it never helped, like, if you had to do a presentation in class, it never helped with that. It didn't make sense, because, I could be this completely crazy character, and then I'd be shaking like crazy for a presentation. It didn't make sense. But yeah, it definitely helped just being comfortable and be able to present myself well.
I don't need to be so afraid to talk to people and be myself around other people, and it's not that hard.
had this unit called the improvisation unit, and it helped me be more spontaneous and outgoing. For my personal life, it helped me get out there and just get some jobs or put out some applications, be able to act on the spot. And it just made me more of an outgoing person. Like for me, I was sort of an introvert coming into the class. I wasn't really always, oh, hi, yeah. I was just sort of kept to myself, and I just really never outspoke as much.
Welcome to our second part of our New York City excursion. And I am extremely happy to introduce to you, hopefully, a future friend of mine, Miss Emily Fletcher.
Thanks, friends. I knew at 11 years old that I was going to move to New York. I knew that I was going to be on Broadway. It was not negotiable. It was not a question of if. It was just when. I'm going to do this. There was no debating. And I think that is the kind of resolve that you really have to bring any sort of challenging career into fruition. Now, this isn't just acting, right? Because some of you guys are going to go on to be actors, some of you aren't. And that's great. There is no right or wrong. A really powerful thing to learn at a young age is that instead of being under the illusion that your happiness lies on the other side of Broadway, or on the other side of one job, or one person, or one place, or one thing, what we got to start to do is realize that our happiness lies inside of us. And then the beautiful thing that happens is that we get to use these stories, we get to use our acting, our performance, whatever job that we do, we get to use that as a way to deliver the goodness that's inside of us. You have young kids that are hipper than me these days. But whatever it is that you're looking at the celebrities on, they look perfect, right? They look like they have perfect skin and perfect hair and perfect clothes and perfect lives and perfect houses and perfect cars and perfect babies and perfect rings. And the thing is, their lives are no different than yours. I'm great. I'm actually perfect if perfection exists. I think we get trapped in the prison of the pursuit of perfection, trying to be perfect, trying to be perfect. Oh, I want perfect skin, I want perfect clothes, I want the perfect grades, I want the perfect resume, I want perfect everything, and that can be a prison. But if you realize that you're in fact already perfect, then all of these challenges, all of these fears, all of these dreams just become a chance to learn, a chance to grow, a chance to succeed. And I mean that in the root meaning of the word succession, that one thing moves into the next. Instead of this prison of perfection, trying to be this idea of what we think a perfect superstar celebrity should be, instead, let's bravely reveal ourselves. Let's be willing to be seen, to be heard, and to connect honestly when we're doing this work, when we're doing the acting work. And that can happen in comedy, it can happen in drama, it can happen in any number of ways, but it takes bravery. And it's hard. Acting is easy. We make it harder than it has to be because we put ourselves in this prison of perfection. But you guys already know how to listen. You already know how to walk. You already know how to read. You already know how to talk. And honestly, that and you being you is all it takes to be a good actor. But that takes practice. Why? Because we get scared when we get up and do it in front of people. What you put your attention on grows. If you spend 100% of your time only working on math, guess what? You would get better at math. If you spend 100% of your time only working on acting, guess what? You're going to be a better actor. You spend 100% of your time running track, guess what? You're going to be a great runner. What you put your attention on grows.
It helps me understand how other people are feeling just through all the character studies that you do, and it helps you understand really how people work. And it helps you a lot because with time management, because you spend so many hours rehearsing, you really have to crunch your time and make use of every second.
The experience I had up until I was in 9th grade and started really performing with the high school were with Dream Rights. It was a family organization. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of like make-believe roles where you were an animal or you were something else. But as soon as I hit high school, it became real life. The first play that I had a major part in was Whose Life Is It Anyway? And that's a show about a man who is paralyzed and wants to die. And that hit me as a 14-year-old. having a role, I was the doctor of the man, and that was the lead female role. Having that role in 9th grade really hit me as something that was serious. Like, this is a real person. The words that I'm saying and the person that I'm trying to be isn't a make-believe fairy tale. It's something that could very well happen, and something that I have to make believable for this short little blonde girl to be a doctor prescribing medicine and talking a man out of suicide and trying to get him to stay alive when he really doesn't want to. And that was just a real maturity level that I gained that freshman year. And I think if I were to go back now as a junior and do that play again, I'd play it a lot differently. And I think each year I've just gained, and Mr. Zortman has just increased my professional view of plays and shows, and the understanding I have of shows is now a lot more in depth. And I truly understand a character analysis now. Like, I'm not just reading lines. I'm understanding why my character is saying what she's saying and what she wants to gain from it, and the relationships that she has with the other people in the show. And throughout my high school career, it has really prepared me for a professional career. Like, Mr. Zortman's program is very rigorous. It's very, very in-depth, and I think it has really increased my professionalism.
Theater's helped me academically. Just in school, there's not as many opportunities, I guess, to express yourself in just core classes mainly. So theater lets you kind of break out, and we talk about how it's a safe place to do unsafe things. It makes you more comfortable in your environment. It kind of you learn more about yourself as you learn how, like, how you function in a theater setting.
Mr. Hodge told us in the very beginning of theater arts that when we walked through that door, we needed to shed, I guess you could say, like, kind of like shed the person that you are walking around the hallways.
Theater has to be a safe place. And we go through our lives, so many, and my students, including myself, we go through life kind of sometimes like zombies, where we hold back, we don't express like we should. We get impulses, but we don't act on them because we've been told, and we assume that those are unsafe things to do, to speak our mind, to show that particular type of emotion.
When I'm walking around the hallways, I look at the ground, keep my head down, go straight, don't look at anybody, just really shy, I guess I was. But he wanted us to forget that person and leave them at the door, is what he said. Because in theater, you want to be spontaneous and creative and crazy, and people will laugh at you, but you have to laugh along with them, and you can't just be embarrassed. Now, when you're, of course, out there in the middle of the hallway, you don't want to just, there are certain times for that. I guess you can't be like that all the time. But really, with acting and theater, it's good to be all those things and be crazy and unique and just have fun.
It is important to hold back. It is important to understand structure and social mores to the point where you are in control of yourself in the real world. I always tell the students that in order to be successful in the theater, particularly live theater, and as an actor, you have to be doing the unsafe things on the stage. For example, if you jumped up on the table in the cafeteria, I always say this to them, if you jumped up to the cafeteria and started waving your arms around and screaming and expressing all of your feelings and emotions, you would probably get taken to the office and a note home and a call home, and maybe furthermore, it may get you in trouble. So the point is, in real life, we do need to learn how to tone things down somewhat. When you're on stage, it's the complete opposite. It's not like you can do anything you want on stage, but you have to have the mindset that what gets you in trouble out there in the real world can often be what gets you applause on stage. To me, that's what that means. It means it's a safe place. It means that it should be a place where you're encouraged to try new things. And it's a place where you have to feel safe to express. And you have to you have to give yourself permission to feel. I always say that too as well. A lot of kids, a lot of my students hold back because they haven't given themselves permission to cry, permission to get angry, permission to do all those things. And until they realize that theater is a safe place to do those unsafe things, they might struggle a little bit.
If you want to be an actor, you have to be very bold and very spontaneous, like I said. You have to take risky decisions. It's not like, oh, I'm going to jump off a bridge or something. It's not like that. It's just like you have to be able to make your character appeal to how you are, or vice versa.
You need to get over here right now. Yeah, but things. Look, I don't want. I'm not backing down on this. You don't understand. No, it's Skittles. No, you don't understand. Skittles or I walk.
Theater is inherently. It is an unsafe, emotional journey. In very literal terms, there's often physical unsafeness to it. There's a degree of physical danger as well. It's an interesting work. You really do have to have your head about you. You really do have to know what you're doing. You really do have to be safe for yourself. So we talk about a play literally as a play. The rehearsal is a playing process, a time to play with what you're doing. And you can only play and let yourself go and let yourself experience that kind of a playfulness if you feel that you're in a safe environment, meaning the people around you are supportive, the people around you respect you and uphold what you're doing. If you're in a situation where you're not feeling comfortable with that, you're not feeling safe, then you really can't play. You can't just let things go and try new things. You're too guarded all the time. Taking in a total different tangent, though, also within being safe, there's that whole part of being safe physically, which is a lot of things we do in theater that are inherently not safe. Here we're sitting on a stage that if we walk off the end of the stage, we're going to fall down 12 feet. And we're standing there in the darkness or with bright lights where we can't see. Inherently, there's a level of physical unsafeness to that. So again, you have to have your head about you. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know what other people are doing. It has to be a collaborative effort. It has to be a safe effort, and that everyone knows what each other is doing. When things are flying in or flying out, there's a degree of danger with that. When you're on a set and there's a blackout and you're exiting the stage or walking down steps in the darkness, there's inherent danger to that. So this whole idea of the process of playing, of rehearsing, of working with a piece needs a degree of safety, and also literally the process of doing the work needs to be done. It's inherently unsafe, and it needs to be done so that you are at all times trying to keep yourself as safe as possible.
Been as open and as I've never felt as loved as I do when I'm with theater people, and especially with the play that we did in the fall, Moon Over Buffalo, I was the lead character, Carol Burnett's character, Charlotte Hay, and I had to kiss my husband, who was Kellen Beck, and I think knowing that it's a safe place, that no one's gonna make fun of us, and it just because that's, as a high school student, that's something that everyone wants to be oh, a kissing scene, but it was really a safe place, and Mr. Zortman took the steps, if we were uncomfortable at any time, he would have the other students leave the room, and we could just have a serious conversation about you guys are a married couple in the show. Obviously, you're not married in real life. You're acting, it's okay, and I think that it definitely is a safe place. I wouldn't try the things that I try now in any other class or for any other project. If I was doing a film project with a class of people that don't necessarily do theater, I don't know if I would take the risks that I can take on stage. And Mr. Zortman, as the director, is there to tell me if I've taken a step too far or if I need to take a step further. But the rehearsal process is really the time to put everything out there, and then through the director, you can pull stuff back.
With theater, you get a very unique chance to open people's eyes, because in everyday life, when you try to explain something to somebody, they don't always take it to heart because they're dealing with so many other things. But in theater, you really get a chance to engage with somebody, and everybody gets their own experience, and the whole audience gets a different view on what you're trying to give them. And so you really get a chance to change people's perspectives.
Was that yesterday? Did I talk to you about the Lord of the Rings Gollum character, or did I say that in block one? Yeah, the guy who hopped up on the chair and like hunched over, that's what he got the part, because he was the only guy that hunched up in the chair and like spoke in that voice. That's what got him the part. Risky choice, absolutely, but from that choice, they gave him the role. So you never know. But he made a bold choice, and it stood out.
I did a lot of stage combat. Yeah. One of my first large role was as Milady de Winter in The Three Musketeers, because the poor lead broke her foot a week before opening, so I had to take over. But lots of sword fighting, and you can punch the crap out of people, and they won't get hurt, supposedly. But otherwise, like characters, maybe a serial killer, or someone extremely dangerous, or someone that's mentally unstable, things like that. You can, the stage is a safe place to do it, and you have support off stage and on stage, and the audience is there you're protected in a way. You can go nuts without being nuts.
You can't hijack another analyst's patient from right underneath his nose and...
Ready for lunch, darling? Oh, hello, Roy.
Hi, Gabby. I'm glad you're here. Maybe you can talk some ethics into this unprincipled practitioner. Do you know you're engaged to a body snatcher?
Do I? That's so...
Well... You want to go faster?
No, I just feel like, hey, audience, look at...
But then in the case of Heath Ledger, he went a little too far, because he delved too much into the character of the Joker, and he kind of offed himself by accident. But it's definitely a good place to do crazy things, and it's a fun place to be.
I think the biggest misconception is that acting is easy. Acting is not. It's a lot of hard work. That's not to say that anyone can't be an actor, but the work that is done to be successful, it is hard work. Now, people who tend to do it tend to really enjoy that work and to really enjoy that process. So for them, it doesn't really become hard work. It becomes a great journey. It becomes great effort, a great trip. And we talk about it in terms of journeys, of getting from here to there. That process of moving and working through a script and rehearsing it and learning it and understanding it and working with others. That's a journey, and it's a lot of work. But I think that's probably the biggest misconception, is that people think that there's people don't recognize the amount of effort and work that goes into it and what is needed. And that's partly because of, in American film, we have a lot of stars who came out of nowhere, who just sort of arrived, and they were the great look, and they were cast, and they become the great star. If you go to a country such as England, your successful actors, nobody is discovered in England. In England, they go through training and a college process. It's actually even harder and more rigorous than the college process we have in America. But nobody is cast as the lead in a movie unless they've been the whole way through this process and they've developed all those skills. So it's really not easy. But part of that comes from the misconception in America and from the reality that there's a couple of movie stars who, Not to say they're not good and not to say that they're not worthy, but they may not have gone through some of those rigorous processes that some of the other people have gone through. So they were discovered, they became stars, it was quote unquote easy, they arrived, they did it. But in reality, most working professional actors, people who work in the business, there's a lot of training that goes into it, and a lot of work that gets them to that point.
There's so many things at play that people have a misconception about. If they really knew what it was like, they would go from there. I just watched an interview with an actor. I think her name's Yvonne Strahovski. She was on Chuck and Dexter. And she talked about how when she first got her role in Chuck, in 2006, I think, she said that she wished she would have been told that she was going to be working 18-hour days for a week straight, for weeks on a time. I don't think many people assume that about an actor's life. They assume it's easy, they assume it's just a cakewalk, they assume it's all glitz and glam. I don't know many people that would want 18-hour work days, and sure, they get paid, that's fine, but that it starts to put in perspective what we give actors. So I think to me that's the biggest misconception. It's not work, it's not a real craft, it's not something that you should go after. You should go into something easier like a doctor or something like that, which is ironic because becoming a doctor and lawyer and all these other things that people say you should get into, it's just as hard, if not more difficult to, and more commitment than it is to say I'm going to be an actor.
Seizing the moment. That means, like, when you see an opportunity arise, like he provided this theory called the yes and theory. And basically, the whole goal is you're supposed to yes and something. Like, a suggestion is given, and then you add on to it. You just keep it going and keep it going and stuff like that. What we did, me and my friend Gavin Main, me and him are dancers, and what we do now is we see performances or like shows that we have to do, and what we do is we go and apply for them. When no one else is able to step up to the plate, we're just there to fill it in. And so, as a result, we just go up there and do it.
It's become almost a cliche. Carpe diem, seize the day, all that stuff, seize the moment. And I've discovered this recently with cliches, is that there's a lot of truth to the cliches that we just throw around. And it's unfortunate that when somebody says seize the day or seize the moment or YOLO, or you only live once, or whatever the catchphrase of the whatever time period it is, there's some value to each one of those things. I've found that something as simple as seizing the moment is something that's kind of within each and every one of us. We know it. We see the experience in front of us, and we want to jump. We want to take it. We have this feeling, and we see the person walk by, and we want to say hi, but we don't. And if we start seizing the moment, we're going to start experiencing more, and we're going to start living, I think, richer and fuller lives that are full of new experiences and new opportunities and new people. So for the actor, it's going to help you be a better performer because you're listening and you're aware of what's happening around you. And as a human being and a non-actor, how often do we hear people say, like, oh, I wish I would have, or I wish I could have, or what if this could happen? What if, I always say now, what if it wasn't about that? What if it was everything we need is right in front of us, and it's just a matter of being open to taking those moments? That goes back to that transformational point. To me, that's extremely transformational. If you start looking at life as opportunities and moments that you can seize and take, man, that changes a lot of things. For me, as a parent, as a teacher, as a friend, it really changes a lot. And I think it has a lot to do. It's not just to help actors, it's also to help non-actors too as well.
I told this story of there were countless numbers of experiences where I had hanging out at my locker, hanging out in the lunchroom, whether I'm in college or not, and there is really attractive female, okay? And the possibility of, wow, she seems really cool, I have an interest in her. Time after time goes by where I have those experiences, and each time I tell myself, I'm not going to do anything. I won't do anything. I won't do anything. I'm not going to say something. I'm not going to say something. And those moments just continually pass you by every day. And the funny thing is, those were the moments, the missed moments, those were the moments that I was staying up late at night kicking myself for missing, right? These are the moments where you replay over and over and over again in your head, and you go, oh man, why didn't I? Oh man, she would never. Yes, he would never. They would never, right? What's the only way you're going to address that? By seizing the moment. Either way, your life is not over.
First 30 seconds of the take are the most important. The first 30 seconds that you walk into the room are the most important because that's when we're seeing you. You guys know when I walked in, I had my big coat on and my hat, and I was like getting all my stuff, and I was doing my thing. You guys were all deciding whether or not you wanted to be in the room with me for 2 hours right then, before he said one word about me. You guys all knew whether or not you wanted to do this workshop or not. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, and then when I stood up and he was talking about me, and I just sort of stood there and I received it, and I wasn't like, oh.
In Moon Over Buffalo, that was a comedy, and there was a lot of moments there to be seized, and a lot of comedic timing that you just kind of have to naturally have. I don't know if anyone can ever teach it to you or if you develop it over time, but I think really just taking what was offered to you and going, okay, I know what I'm going to do there, in the back of your head, not really out loud. People would be weirded out if in the middle of a play you were like, I know what we're going to do. But that's kind of what clicks. It clicks and then you go for it. And I think that's something that a lot of people lack, and I think that's something that even when I'm writing, if I feel something when I'm writing it, I'm like, I need to dive into this more. I need to go for that, and even if it's risky, it's going to be something. It's better than just staying bland and just doing it just to do it. It's taking a risk, taking a jump, and knowing that if you feel it's there, it's there.
Yeah, seizing the moment. I mean, auditions can be, they were just horrifying. They're really scary. I mean, just, you're so nervous. You don't want to mess up. You just want to do this right. You want to know your lines and everything like that, but you have to think of it as an opportunity. You really do. I guess, so don't think of it as something that you're being forced to do because you signed up for it. I mean, so just get out there and have fun and do what you want to do.
If your storyline is kind of going somewhere, just grab onto something and take it and run with it. Like, take it and run with it. But otherwise, seizing the moment, like, if you have an opportunity, go for it.
Farewell, my love. I shall find you again once thou hast cleaned thyself of putrid smells.
Buffalo for our main stage, and I was PSM for that, which means I'm up in the light booth and I'm on headset and I'm controlling every tech aspect of it. So I had to give cues, and one of the previews, our fly bar guy lets the scrim just fly straight down onto the stage. It made a loud noise. So we had to slow down, take a break, and obviously I'm like panicking out there, like I'm sweating, and I was so nervous. We had to slow down and make sure he knew what he had to do to get that up and make sure he wouldn't tear or break anything. So it's very nerve-wracking. And before every performance, I would just like clench my fists, just because it's so nerve-wracking. Even if you're backstage, because you have to make sure like every set is in its spot. Because if you don't have a certain, like this set has to be in a certain spot backstage to get on correctly. We have ensemble on both sides of the stage singing into microphones, and you have to make sure they're not in like the wrong spot, and you can't run over them with a set, which would be very bad. And we have to, if a set were to come on wrong, we would have to stop, like completely in a blackout. We have to stop. We can't bring up the lights and have tech come on. So it's all about people's mindset on how they're going to react to this is how I react. If they're going to panic, I have to make sure that they can calm down and get through it. But if I'm panicking, no one can do anything about it because I'm kind of in charge of how people get things done. I want to do this for the rest of my life, whether it be on stage or behind a camera. I want to be an actress, and if I'm not an actress, I still want to be involved in theater. I would love to be a producer or a director or a camera woman. I just want to be involved with it. It's what I love. Everyone says following your dreams can be silly at times and that maybe being an actress is a little far-fetched, but someone has to be an actress. If Jennifer Lawrence listened when people told her, you'll never be an actress, then she wouldn't be one. And I think that's like me. I'm not going to stop following my dreams because people think it's impossible. I'd at least like to go through my life saying that I tried and I did everything I could to get myself there. So that's what I want to do after high school. I want to try.
The reality is, ladies, you're singing to the guys. You're telling them.
I believe this will help me throughout my entire life, really. I mean, this was really a life-changing class because it's just you realize that you can apply this to so many things. Not only just theater or arts or anything like that. It's just you can put this into so many forms. It's not just one state, it's just so many forms that you can put it in. I don't know how to say this. It's just really creative, and it can be formed in many ways. The most important skill that I've learned in theater would definitely be learning how to be a better person in the fact of getting things done on time, because before I did theater, I was pretty disorganized and I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. And so after I got into theater, I really realized how important it was to always be on time, because theater's all about time crunch, basically.
When you're auditioning, when you walk into the room, you can't just walk in and have your nose in the air like you own the place. You can't just walk around like that, but you also don't want to be shy and be kind of like just look at the floor. It's really, you just want to just be yourself, just smile and be relaxed. And I know auditions can be really nerve-wracking, but you want to just don't freak out and don't try and be fake.
You appreciate acting because you find out there's more and more things to go into it. It's not just somebody just thrown in front of a camera. But you learn to appreciate how certain characters react in their situation. You respect people who might be in a similar situation, just depending on the role. Like I said, I was in that really serious production where every character was going through something, and you just understand people more, and you learn how to react to certain things, and you just learn more and more about life and acting at the same time.
Robin, and Galahad, you're on the other side, right?
I think the most transformational part of being in the theater is the blessing, I guess it is, to come at characters and the human experience from a variety of different perspectives. You get to learn more about the universe, you get to learn more about other people, you get to experience things from another perspective. And I think the transformational part of it is that in its very nature does something, I think, to you when you act and or also when you direct and you encourage people to do that. It allows you to transform in the sense that it kind of opens you up to things that you weren't aware of before or assumptions that you made. So I think it's very transformational for that reason.
I find that the kids who are involved in the actual production, as they go through the work of putting it together, of working together, the collaborative process, and then transferring that into a public performance, it's a very transformative experience. So those kids who have done that, they almost always come out with a feeling of accomplishment, and almost an awe and a new respect for the art form, a new respect for each other, because especially in my working with it, I'm working at it as a collaborative effort, and that's the big benefit. That's the big step that's taken when you put the whole performance together, because it doesn't become an individual piece anymore. It becomes a collaborative effort, and everybody rises and falls on everybody's work. So that's the fun and the joy of it.
How are you guys? Let me hear you. That's good, man. That's good. That's a lot of good enthusiasm for 11:30 in the morning. Nice. Good stuff. Good. All right, we're gonna do a little bit of a master class, talk about some improv stuff, do a show, and all that good stuff. So let's talk. Let's do a little poll here. Who here has like ever done or seen like long form improv or improv of any kind? Amazing improvisers up here. Get up and do a yes and scene for you, where they'll literally say yes and to the information that puts forth to really articulate the point. All right. So let's give them a suggestion.
Elephants!
Elephants. I feel so relaxed when I am at the zoo.
Yes, I know you feel relaxed when you're at the zoo. And we get to see the elephants.
Yes, we get to see the elephants. And the elephants are the largest mammal alive.
Yes, the elephants are the largest mammal alive. And they have really pointy tusks.
Yes, they have really pointy tusks. And God, you just know everything about every animal in here.
Yes, I do know.
This here, it's got two ears that go like this, and I think it looks like a tail coming out of the back.
Yes, that does have two ears and a tail coming out of the back. And I think it's a kangaroo.
Yes!
I think you improv in everything. I'm improving now. I didn't plan out what I was going to say to you. I'm just kind of improving my way through it. But I think, especially in job interviews and stuff like that, like today there's a lot more than the basic 4 questions at a job interview. You have to really kind of sell yourself. And I think that improv really helps with that. And I think that, I mean, at college auditions even, I've been reading up on college auditions, some schools do have you do a scene study and improv session before you get, before they allow you to join their acting program. And so improv is really going to be pretty much a core part of my acting education. It's a huge part of what we do. And especially when you're cold reading a script and you get it for an audition and you're just reading it through the first time, it's important to take a risk and to improv your way through it and not just read the lines like you're reading the lines for the first time, but really to just throw yourself out there. And that's kind of, improv has really just helped me be able to throw myself out there.
Milkshakes are these beautiful things that were created on Pluto, in the Utah region of Pluto, and they took milk from goats and put it into a blender, and then they blended the goats, and then they just added chocolate, and that is a milkshake, and it will give you immortality. Improvisation in acting, it can help you later on, well, just in life or in acting itself. I'll just start with in life, I guess. You can't really expect the unexpected. I always hated that phrase, because if it's unexpected and you're expecting it, then technically it's not. Yeah, there's that whole argument. Improv, you never know what's going to happen. You never know what your scene partner is going to throw at you, and you just have to react. And you have to be in there in that moment. You don't just stand there going, what's going to be funny? No, you just react. And the scene continues on and on. It's a give and take. It's a communication between the two actors. You don't have to stress out over little things. Like if something happens, like don't stress out over how exactly you're going to react. Just react, go with it. You learn how to handle like new things that might be thrown at you. Same as what happens in an improv scene. Even if it's not an improvised type of show that you're in, or just a little skit that you're doing. Like just the last show I was in, Bad Auditions by Bad Actors. Like my first character, one of my first lines, I go out there and I accidentally, just suddenly, it's completely slipped my mind what the second half of my line was. So I just rolled with it, and it turns out, it just turns out alright, and the audience doesn't notice the mistake, because you just knew how to react and just roll with it. You already know the character because you've rehearsed it tons of times. The audience doesn't know that there's a change in the script. Only you do, and if you make a big deal out of it, then they'll notice. But if you don't, they won't notice a thing. And you just learn how to adapt to like any mistakes that might be made. So that then it's not like you don't have to stop the entire show like, hop, nope, they didn't get their line right unless I didn't get my cue, and all this stuff happens. No, it just keeps going. The show must go on and all that, but it's just a process that keeps going.
Whew, got some milkshakes here. All right, let's blend this all up. Let's blend this up. Hey, Kathy. Hey, the boys in the yard yet? Tell them to get out of here, man. No. What are you? Don't crowd me. Don't crowd me. Get off. All right, take the milkshake. Just go. I don't need it anymore. No. Take it. Just go, please. Yeah. Close the door too. Thanks. Man. Improv basically just helped me outgo, and it just made me make so many choices. Instead of like just sitting there thinking about what can be, I just go out there and actually do it and see it for myself.
Mom, milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, and they're like, shake the milkshake. And no, you gotta put the whipped cream on it. You gotta have a cherry on it. You gotta have the cherry on the milkshake. And it's gotta be nice and thick and creamy and, milkshake, good lord. Chocolate strawberry milkshake from McDonald's. That'd be great. Concept of improv, yes and. So you never say no, which is a good and a bad thing for me particularly, because for a long time I never said no to anything, and it would always be like, yeah, I'll have 5 things to do in one day, it's great. But improv otherwise, you know, I actually have friends that teach improv courses to businesses, so it's definitely good for just being able to work on the fly. You know, with my jobs, being able to say things off the top of my head, I'm not quite sure what I have to do for you, ma'am, sir, whoever, but I will go, you know, tell you a nice pretty little story until I find an answer for you, that kind of stuff. It's nice to be able to just, you know, fake it until you make it.
Improv has become very popular recently because of the Whose Line Is It Anyway show, and so everybody kind of knows what improv is. There's another example where people think improv is very easy, and the reality is it's very hard. Also, the reality of it is when you talk about improv and talk about that kind of a show is that it's not quite as unscripted as most people think. There's a sort of a plan in the back of everybody's head, and that's the way they go through improv. Improv is a part of theater. It's been a part of theater for many years. In fact, that was theater in one time when we had the traveling troops in Europe, and they would pull up on their wagon in the back of the town, and they would improv the play. The reality is, again, at that time, they weren't really improving. They had stock bits and stock characters, and they did the same kind of bits all the time. So you knew if you were going to give somebody a certain lead-in kind of line, you knew that they were going to take that and they were going to go with their pratfall or whatever it was, their little shtick, because you knew that's what you kind of did with it. Improv today is used much the same way, but we talk of improv today a little bit more in terms of the curriculum, in terms of the curricular classwork. And it becomes part of the process of trying to think through and work on what you're doing so that that then transfers into an actual performance if you're doing a play, not in terms of the performance, but in terms of the rehearsal process. So when I'm going through that rehearsal process and I get to the point where I need to pass this person the jelly, I've understood that kind of motion. I understand what it is, but I can maybe then go a little bit further with it. If I knew something was supposed to be happening within the play, I can take my mind and I can think my way through various scenarios. So it's part of the training process in a good acting class. You don't so much use improv in a formal production. Pretty much frowned upon. There shouldn't be a lot of unexpected things happening. which goes back to the safety aspect. But it's very much part of developing and training an actor. So they go through that process of thinking through various scenarios, and they're able to think on their feet much better.
So tell me about yourself. Oh, okay, you're into soccer? Me too. I can't believe this. This is so crazy. I love milkshakes. They're so amazing. My favorite is strawberry. What's yours? Chocolate? You like chocolate better than strawberry? Are you kidding me? There's so much fat in chocolate. Like, okay, I know milkshakes aren't the healthiest thing, but strawberries fruity is way better than chocolate. No, I'm not being over dramatic. What are you talking about? You know, maybe this wasn't such a good idea. Well, if you're gonna be all like that, I mean, wow. I didn't know you would overreact like this. All I said was that I like strawberry milkshakes more than chocolate. Whatever, fine, I'm leaving, goodbye. I haven't done any, I guess, like, job interviews yet. I haven't had to go and do any of that. But I guess improv helps you maybe when you're standing up and, I don't know, it's just standing up in front of the class to give a speech or something like that, which I'm sure with 3 years that I'll have left in high school, I'm going to have to do a lot more of those. And it's going to help me be more prepared, I guess, and just because speaking in front of people was terrifying for me to do. And you're never going to plan out what you say every second of the day. You don't know. You don't think to yourself, today I'm going to go up and talk to Susan about her cat. You don't think about these things. I mean, maybe you do, but that's not what everybody does. You come up with things on the spot, and we really do it a lot more than we think that we do.
Oh.
Improvisation, the creation of something off the top of your head, quick thinking, spontaneous thought, is a valuable tool that I personally think everybody needs. I think everybody should spend time taking an improv class some way, somehow. It teaches you to go on those impulses and trust the instincts that you have. It is a great way to work on kind of getting out of what I like to call analysis paralysis. Analysis paralysis is when we fixate on something so much that we analyze it so much that we start to get frozen up. We freak out about where are we going to live? What are we going to do? Well, I could do this. And you start coming up, the more and more you think about it, the less and less you act. Improvisation, it's all about the opposite. Analysis paralysis, freezing up, tightening up. Improvisation is designed or has been evolved. It's evolved to get you out of that type of paralysis of thought. So improvisation, I think, can help people think quickly, but it also can help people experience more things, and it also can help people listen to one another, because in order to improv effectively, we have to connect, and we have to listen to each other to create something that we haven't planned. So it's really popular now in businesses. Fortune 500 companies are actually sending people to improvisation schools, and there are now touring companies that are executive branches of some of the major improv schools, and they're going to train bosses and management people for those particular types of training.
Okay, so have you seen these milkshakes? These are the best things ever. All you do is you go up to the counter and you're just like, can I have a milkshake? And they're like, totally. And these are the best milkshakes I've ever had in my life. So creamy, so rich, the flavor out of this world.
My God. They said they were going to take the bus. Well, they can't take my bus. I need that bus. You don't understand. I've been away for 4 days. I've been in that desert for 4 days. The only way to get to McDonald's is in that bus. I need my hamburger, and I need it now.
Okay. All right, you guys are all from Australia. Be that what you want it to be.
And I am the master of adhesive pictures.
Okay, all right, nice. All right.
I recommend the non-white tape.
Okay.
Only Scotch tape. That's the best kind of tape. Rarely glue because it bleeds through the pictures.
Do all the pictures of dogs.
Okay.
So sort of cats and dogs, got it figured out.
Gotcha, all right. And do you guys get along with that, or does that cause a lot of strife?
You know, we sit on opposite sides of the scrapbooking office.
There's another scrapbooking company from Japan that's doing some really good stuff. I heard they did Cars and Humans, and it was a really big win of a page. How do you feel about your competition?
It's funny you said that because you used to work for them, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You hate?
Know what kind of glue they use.
I will say this, they have no pictures of dogs, and no pictures of cats, and no pictures of anything else. The blanks.
It's just blank white pages.
Yeah.
It's like they
They take the scrapbook and they take white paper and they glue it.